I just sat down and realized I don't know where my chapstick is, and now I'm kind of freaking out because now my lips are like... Hey dudes, what's up? Couple things first. One, happy October. Secondly, I do have some kind of like sinus thing going on. It's probably just seasonal allergies. So if you hear it, I apologize. There's nothing I can do about it. I am getting better though, it's just all right here. And then thirdly, I'm at my mom's right now. Clearly, as you can see, she's downstairs watching football, so if you hear any yelling or anything like that, that's what that is. As you can see by the title, today we're going to be reading The Smiling Man, which is basically like a creepypasta scary story that was very popular. It probably is still really popular, but it's very, very spooky. When I first read it, I don't even know how long ago, it like wouldn't leave me because of how creepy it was. Like it was like stuck in my brain. And I know I brought this video up as like a suggestion like a long time ago, but I'm glad to be finally doing it in October. I feel like that's an appropriate month and time for me to read this story for you guys. So we'll just get right into the story. I will also post the link to the creepypasta, just the site that I'm reading it straight from, in the description in case you want to go read it yourself later or send it to one of your friends or something, whatever, it'll be in the description. About 5 years ago, I lived downtown in a major city in the US. I've always been a night person, so I would often find myself bored after my roommate, who was decidedly not a night person, went to sleep. To pass the time, I used to go for long walks and spend the time thinking. I spent 4 years like that, walking alone at night, and never once had a reason to feel afraid. I always used to joke with my roommate that even the drug dealers in the city were polite. But all of that changed in just a few minutes of one evening. It was a Wednesday, somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning. And I was walking near a police-patrolled park quite a ways from my apartment. It was a quiet night, even for a weeknight, with very little traffic and almost no one on foot. The park, as it was most nights, was completely empty. I turned down a short side street in order to loop back to my apartment when I first noticed him. At the far end of the street, on my side, was the silhouette of a man, dancing. It was a strange dance, similar to a waltz, but he finished each box with an odd forward stride. I guess you could say he was dance walking, headed straight for me. Deciding he was probably drunk, I stepped as close as I could to the road to give him the majority of the sidewalk to pass me by. The closer he got, the more I realized how gracefully he was moving. He was very tall and lanky, and wearing an old suit. He danced closer still, until I could make out his face. His eyes were open, wide and wild, head tilted back slightly, looking off at the sky. His mouth was formed in a painfully wide cartoon of a smile. Between the eyes and the smile, I decided to cross the street before he danced any closer. I took my eyes off of him to cross the empty street. As I reached the other side, I glanced back, and then stopped dead in my tracks. He had stopped dancing and was standing with one foot in the street, perfectly parallel to me. He was facing me, but still looking skyward, smile still wide on his lips. I was completely and utterly unnerved by this. I started walking again, but kept my eyes on the man. He didn't move. Once I had put about half a block between us, I turned away from him for a moment to watch the sidewalk in front of me. The street and the sidewalk ahead of me were completely empty. Still unnerved, I looked back to where he had been standing to find him gone. For the briefest of moments, I felt relieved, until I noticed him. He had crossed the street and was now slightly crouched down. I couldn't tell for sure due to the distance and the shadows, but I was certain he was facing me. I had looked away from him for no more than 10 seconds, so it was clear that he had moved fast. I was so shocked that I stood there for some time, staring at him. And then he started moving toward me again. He took giant, exaggerated, tip-toed steps, as if he were a cartoon character sneaking up on someone, except he was moving very, very quickly. I'd like to say at this point I ran away or pulled out my pepper spray or my cell phone or anything at all, but I didn't. I just stood there, completely frozen as the smiling man crept towards me. And then he stopped again, about a car length away from me, still smiling his smile, still looking to the sky. When I finally found my voice, I blurted out the first thing that came to mind. What I meant to ask was, "What do you want?" in an angry, commanding tone. What came out was a whimper. What? Regardless of whether or not humans can smell fear, they can certainly hear it. I heard it in my own voice, and that only made me more afraid. But he didn't react to it at all. He just stood there, smiling. And then, after what felt like forever, he turned around, very slowly, and started dance-walking away. Just like that. Not wanting to turn my back to him again, I just watched him go, until he was far enough away to almost be out of sight. And then I realized something. He wasn't moving away anymore, nor was he dancing. I watched in horror as the distant shape of him grew larger and larger. He was coming back my way, and this time he was running. I ran too. I ran until I was off the side road and back onto a better lit road with sparse traffic. Looking behind me then, he was nowhere to be found. The rest of the way home, I kept glancing over my shoulder, always expecting to see his stupid smile, but he was never there. I lived in that city for 6 months after that night, and I never went out for another walk. There was something about his face that always haunted me. He didn't look drunk. He didn't look high. He looked completely and utterly insane. And that's a very, very scary thing to see. You guys know how I always say that real people and real interactions with people always scare me a lot more than anything paranormal or extraterrestrial or anything. That story is a perfect example of what I mean. People being creepy is so much scarier than like a door slamming in your face and like nobody being there. I don't know. When people don't act like people, for example, that story, it's just so unnerving and so scary to me. Just weighing like the two paranormal experiences, like seeing a shadow person in your hallway versus a person acting like that and chasing you down the street and smiling. Like, this one's so much more scary to me. Both situations, obviously it's very unknown, but just to think of like, this is a person, what are they capable of, what's going through their head, I don't know. Maybe that's why I was a psychology major. So I know that this was a little bit of a shorter video. I think my footage is only about 9-10 minutes, so that means this video will probably be about like 8 minutes. So I'm sorry for that, but I just really wanted to share this story because it is one of my favorites. While I was reading it this time, I actually did get chills again. It's just such a good story that really just gives you the creeps, you know? There is a couple short films on it, so if you're interested in that, I might try to find the links and put them in the description. I have not been brave enough to watch it just because the scene that really freaks me out to like think about in my head is the one where he's like standing in the like halfway in the street, just like parallel to the person. Thinking about that in my own head freaks me the frick out, so I can't imagine what watching it would do to me. So I don't know, but if you're brave enough and you want to watch it, it's October, so why not? I'll put it in the description. But yeah, that's it for today. Again, I apologize, it's a little bit of a shorter video, but it is a really good story, so I figured I would share it anyways. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys and I'll see you guys next time. Bye everybody!